It's downhill time, race fans. What do you say we keep this action rolling here at the Crankworx Summer Series by giving these racers another opportunity to grab some points? This is becoming more and more exciting as we go. Day 2 of broadcast competition right now, and it's all about downhill. Where are we racing? Well, I'm hanging out in Bend, Oregon. My co-commentator Elliot Jackson's in California, but we all have our eyes locked on our screens because the racing is taking place right here. SilverStar Resort near Vernon, British Columbia. Where's that? About 400 kilometers away from the birthplace of Crankworx, Whistler, BC. We've got some of the fastest racers in Canada all taken to this downhill course today. And Elliot Jackson, the plot is thickening. We have a story to talk about now. This is the third event of this 3-week series. What do you think we can expect in downhill?
Yeah, man, I am just so excited that we're only halfway through the week. We got 2 more weeks of this, and I think this is the kind of the moment that we've been waiting for, seeing how the enduro guys and the downhill guys stack up against each other. This course, I think, will suit a bit of everyone. It's got a little bit of everything on it, so I can't wait to get into it.
And if we've learned one thing already after 2 competitions, it's expect the unexpected. People weren't expecting certain riders to do well as they step outside their comfort zone, but they've been proved wrong. So what is this Crankworx Summer Series all about? 25 British Columbia athletes, 17 men, 8 women, and they got to compete in all 4 of these disciplines: enduro, downhill, air downhill, and dual slalom. This is basically an endurance event spread across 3 weeks. First off, SilverStar is where we're racing right now, Kicking Horse next week, and Sun Peaks the following week. And you have to compete in 12 different races, which, like we were talking about yesterday, there's that great soundbite from Mark Wallace where he's saying, man, I race World Cup downhill. 12 races, that's usually what I do in a season, and I'm going to do that in just 3 weeks, and every single result will count. Not to mention all these racers having to compete in disciplines that they don't typically compete in. Everybody at one point or another will be outside their comfort zone. Who's kind of rising to the surface so far right now, even though we're so early on in this 3-week event?
Yeah, to me, I think it's super interesting that Jesse Melamed qualified so well in slalom. Everyone's, I think, trying to find their groove. Finn always is really strong at the start of every season. You see that in the World Cups. And then on the women's side, I know Vaya has just been training so hard. I think it probably suited her that she got an extra couple of months of training, and Casey is just so naturally talented. So there's a couple of matchups shaping up as we go into the later part of the week.
Yeah, it's a crazy thing too is all the different bikes are going to have to compete on. Today it's all about long travel, dual crowns. But just yesterday it was all about short travel, tight courses, about 45 seconds long, the course for dual slalom, and really, really no room for air. So let's take a look back at some highlights from yesterday's SilverStar dual slalom.
Knew it all along. Dressed it up in nice clothes. Wouldn't tell yourself. But everyone know when you gonna learn. When you gonna learn. When you gonna
It was definitely gnarlier than I thought it was going to be. It was like, I thought that the first turns would slow you down a little bit more and that you'd be gaining speed rather than managing your speed. It feels good and stoked that it all worked out.
Did not think this day was going to pan out like this, so I'll take the win and pray that tomorrow goes well.
So really interesting to see how things shook down in the dual slalom. And take a look at how tight the overall standings are right now between our top 2, Elliot.
Yeah, man, these two neck and neck. Bass was going crazy on the slalom. I couldn't believe how fast he was going. He's kind of just on another level when you watched him, like kind of head and shoulders above everyone else all day.
For sure. It was funny when we talked to him after the race, too. He's like, man, I think I made the course a little bit too tech, but it totally played in his favor. It almost looked like a mogul's race on skis. But the women, let's talk about their overall standings. Take a look at the top two there. A tie with Via Verbeek and Casey Brown playing ping pong 2 days in a row with firsts and seconds, respectively. What do you make of that?
I know. It's crazy. These two are so evenly matched. They're so talented, back and forth in the last 2 days. And Vaya, like I said, she's been training on these disciplines, but she comes from World Cup downhill background. So I think today she'll get back on a bike that she's comfortable with. Miranda's still right there, so it's really anyone's game.
Okay, so you're up to speed with where we sit in the standings, what's at stake. Today, we've been talking about it's all about downhill. What better chance than right now to take a look at what this course is all about? This is the Stands course preview with Trevor Burke and Brett Reeder.
Hey everyone, Trevor Burke here again with GT Bikes, and today I have a real treat for you. I'm going to be following this man, Brett Reeder. Hey guys. Down the SilverStar downhill at the Cliff Crankworx Summer Series on the course preview presented by Stands. Jags downhill. SilverStar. Brett Reeder.
So we see coming off at the very beginning, it's a little bit flat. There's not much room for pedaling here, but you're gonna have to pump a ton. And there's all these little kind of sniper rocks and these sections where you can see out in the distance that trail that kind of goes uphill. This track is all about carrying speed. So you're gonna come out of a turn, maybe not even gonna be able to get some pedals in, but a lot of tucking, a lot of carrying momentum. Here you can kind of see, maybe you could straighten out that rock garden, come around here. The dirt is super loose up here, like so many rocks and pebbles. I hope that the riders kind of have a good chance to get some time on this track, because it's one of those tracks that can catch you out. You could be doing everything right, come around a turn, a rock's in the wrong place from your last run, and you might hit that. You might hit it with your front wheel and come off the bike. So the top is about kind of pushing, carrying speed, and then coming into these woods, I feel like it's kind of back to where we were yesterday, like lots of turns and berms.
It seems like the top of the course, like you mentioned, it's all about just making sure that you don't initiate something that's going to cause a chain reaction and lose your flow, because all those kind of off-camber, snipey rock sections leading into those long out in the open flat sections, and like you said, almost uphill. It's like if you lose speed out of one of those silly little off-camber rock sections, you're gonna have a hard time getting back up to speed in those flat, kind of almost climby sections too.
Yeah, it's so true. And like those things are so hard mentally, because you know how important it is. Like, you know, as a rider, like, I have to nail this turn, so I have to push. And if you either nail it and you're stoked, or you don't nail it, you're trying to pedal and kind of mentally maybe out of the game. So it's definitely going to be a mental game as well, to be precise but also push. I think this is kind of going to be a theme throughout the week here, because the tracks are so technically difficult.
It looks like so many times it goes in the woods with technical, and then out of the woods with just flat stuff. So it's like, come out of those tech sections with speed. That'll be really interesting to see who can hit all of their marks right there. Of course, 25 of the fastest racers from British Columbia all taken to the course here at SilverStar Resort for the SilverStar Downhill. We've got riders from all different backgrounds. Even Brett Reeder from Slopestyle can be dropping in, so do not go away.
Discover the best trails in the world. Crankworx. Download the app today.
Yeah. Here we go. Closer and closer to racing action, minute by minute here in the SilverStar downhill. Of course, stop number 1 of the Cliff Crankworx Summer Series, event number 3. And I'm listening in right now. I think we got a racer on course, Elliot.
Yeah,
Here we
baby.
go.
So this is this is Lucy Schick. She was the U21 champion in the EWS. So let's see how she goes in this first section. The course is actually, comparing that course preview to what we actually see here, you can tell it's a little bit steeper than it looks when you're riding it. And like I was saying, this first section, a lot of things that can catch your pedal out. Really have to be careful about that. But once you get into the woods, it's about finding the flow.
Hey, well, it's great to get our first looks of the course right here, but isn't that kind of true always? When you get that onboard POV camera mounted to the helmet, it just flattens everything out. Now we get these great views from trackside. Everything looks a little bit steeper.
Yeah, totally. I know, that's always the thing.
All good?
Like I was saying, in this bottom part, to me, when I think about this course, I think about like execution, just what keeps coming to mind, because it's one of those tracks where you have to really be careful not to push too hard, but at the same time, you don't have a whole lot of opportunity to make up time with a lot of super gnarly sections, like like a Val d'Isole or something like that.
Well, there we have it. The bar has been set for the women's field. Our first taste of what the times are going to be looking like today. A 2:58.3 for Lucy Schick. She'll take ownership over that hot seat. We'll see if she's able to hold on to that. We have 6 more racers in the pro women field here yet to drop. So you mentioned she comes from not a downhill background. What do you think? We've got the bar set at 2:58 right now. How long do you think that's going to hold up, considering who we have right here on the start list?
Yeah, what's funny is talking to a couple of I was talking to a couple of the enduro guys. They hop on the downhill bike, and they're just like, I have so much traction. They've been riding these trail bikes for so long, and so I'm interested to see if they can actually find the limit, because the limit on the trail bike would be in a different spot.
Yeah, there's nothing more powerful feeling than getting off of your trail bike and hopping on a downhill bike. You just feel like a superhero. Right now, opting for the enduro bike is Leonie Picton out of Australia now, 34 years of age. Let's see if she has what it takes to knock Lucy Schick off of that hot seat.
Yeah, totally. It's super interesting, because you have to kind of make a choice of, would I rather ride a bike that's quote unquote better for a course, or would I rather ride a bike that I'm more comfortable on? You can hear Leonie right there. I think there's probably a pedaling section right before that. And even if there's no pedaling on a track, one of the things to think about is there's so much pumping. Even out of the gate, you come around, there's 2 bumps you have to pump, all in this stuff right here. You're moving the bike around, you're putting it where you want to put it, and that is sometimes a little more tiring than just pedaling sometimes.
So taxing. I feel like all of our viewers who are joining us on peakbike.com right now have an idea of how taxing it can be to pump through rollers, but look at this, through the line right now with our top time, beating out Lucy Schick by 6.7 seconds. Leonie Picton setting the new bar to beat 2:51.6. So that trail bike's paying off, isn't it?
Yeah, I know. I wonder like how that stuff is going on the open. We saw in the course preview, like there's a couple of those long sections, so it's hard to tell. Without being on the track, whether it's better to tuck or to pedal. We used to always go through that on the World Cups. Like, should you pedal here and catch a bunch of wind, or should you just try to tuck? You see like people like Troy Brosnan, super good at that.
Yeah, I mean, all he has to do is tuck down a little bit. He doesn't have much body to get out of the way of the wind there. Just use his head a little bit. He's already underneath the stem. Well, it's fun having him in the booth in Rotorua. But hey, you had a good point. As soon as you watched that course preview, you said it's going to be all about carrying speed in those flats. So that might be where that trail bike right there, the Enduro Race Machine, came into play. Next up, Georgia Astle. What do you know about Georgia, Elliot?
Man, I have seen her in Whistler for the last who knows how long, but I just realized she's actually born and raised there. So that would make sense. That would make sense.
Makes sense when she's hanging out in Whistler. Well, she's hanging out at the top of the course right now. The next rider to drop with a 2:51.6 set as the time to beat. Georgia Astol on course right now. Georgia sitting 4th in the overall.
Yeah, and she has a lot of experience riding different terrain. Goes out to Queenstown, done some World Cups, done the Crankworx World Tour. Looked like she kind of came over that first section a little bit faster than the other two. Tough to see. Taking a little bit of a further inside line there. And so these sections here, it's super interesting because there is a straight line through there, and some people are opting to go outside. So you have to make the choice of, do I want to shave off distance or do I want to have a higher speed? Looks like she's
Time to
looks
beat
like
at
she's pinned.
2:51. Georgia's sitting at 2:45 right now as she approaches the finish line. So it's looking good for Georgia
Wow.
Astol. There we go, going into the lead by a margin of 2.7. The new time to beat, 2:48, held by Georgia Astol.
Yeah, man, this track is looks hard. Like, I think there's a lot more to it than meets the eye.
So next to take the course will be Miranda Miller. We had the chance to catch up with her earlier, and she had this to say about managing your energy.
It's an intense schedule, like that's a lot, and even in between the events, there's media days, travel days. You just have to be really mindful of, you know, what you do with all your energy. I think just staying healthy the whole time, whether that's like not getting like a cold or like run down or, you know, getting hurt, things like that. I think you just have to be like a little bit wise to how you're feeling and then really just act on that, you know, like maybe you're a tiny bit uncertain on something on the downhill track. Like maybe you don't need to do an extra run though. Like maybe you can do that the morning up before or something, or go look at a GoPro. Just small things like that, and I think will make a big difference.
Success or, you know, situations that could be improved, especially when you're racing so many disciplines in 1 week. 4 disciplines per week here on the Cliff Crankworx Summer Series. Right now, Miranda Miller on course. Does she have what it takes to knock out Georgia Astol and beat that 2:48?
Dang! Right off the gate,
Yeah.
like, manualing that little that little roller. I love it. I love what she was talking about, just being smart. She has so much experience. You can see here, like, she takes that inside, straightens that section out. I've been watching her, and these like kind of flowy turn roller stuff, she is so good. You know, she's 2017 world champ. And I always laugh because she always texts me, you know, mid-winter, and it's like it's time for fat camp, Elliot. Let's get you up and get you out on the bike. So yeah, she's super fit, super strong. Been around a
And
long time.
super
You can tell.
fast. Look at this margin. All right, the 2017 World Cup downhill champ just knocked Georgia Astol out of that hot seat by a margin of 9 seconds. The new time to beat, 2:39. And Miranda Miller is the new occupant of that hot seat. Wow. I mean, every single rider we've watched drop in has knocked out the previous leader. This is good action.
Man, yeah, I'm just thinking back about that run. Like, I love when you see riders kind of making the whole track like a rhythm section, like finding the jumps, finding the turns. Like, that was really cool.
So 4 different disciplines, of course. That means you're going to have to bring a lot of different bikes. To speak more on that topic, we caught up with ALN.
As far as my bikes for this event, I kind of went with simplicity. I have a Slayer with a 40 and a 29er front wheel. So I have a mullet Slayer that I'm using for DH. And then I have a trail bike that I'm going to use for Enduro, Dual, and Aero DH. I'm not going to do any mods to my trail bike. It'll be a 29er, 170, 150, and I'm just going to keep it simple. Might change a couple clicks for Air DH and everything, but no major change.
So ALN, she just told us right there, she'll be on board that Slayer with the 29 front, 27.5 rear. I believe the Slayer is more of a short travel trail bike, a long travel trail bike, I should say, but not a downhill specific bike. So will that be what it takes right now to knock out Miranda Miller? A little bit more pumping capabilities. ALN on course.
Yeah, that's a super interesting choice to me because these EWS races are used to racing like super gnarly tracks on their trail bikes. She took a little bit of an inside there. Maybe that traction that you have takes it outside there. I think one of the keys to this track is not getting slowed down over the roots. You can kind of hear the riders when they go through some sections. Like Miranda was just like super quiet, and she was able to lift up over some of those roots and rocks and stuff like that. That just comes from, like Miranda said, is maybe these riders haven't gotten as much practice as they would.
It's gonna be so tight! Oh man, are you kidding me? ALN popped Miranda Miller out of the lead by less than a half of a second.
Oh my god, that's
I
crazy.
really like the way we have that on-screen graphic there, Elliot, where it's just telling us how much time they have to cross the finish line before it's too late and they don't get the lead. Jeez, Miranda's sitting there right now going, where could I have found 0.49? All right, here you go. The cozy red chair is yours, ALN.
Yeah, that's so awesome. Like, I think that's totally one of the things. Like, I was talking about how she might have been hitting some extra routes, but then it's probably just because she was actually just going so fast.
Man, I think she's carrying speed in those flats, you know? That bike is a little bit shorter travel than some of these purpose-built downhill bikes. But next up, we will see her in the start gate momentarily here. Casey Brown, we caught up with her earlier. She had this to say.
I think the downhill scares me the most just because it's always just such a short time frame over the gnarliest stuff. So the downhill is definitely one I was worried about for my knee, and just you know, I think that's going to be a hard one for me to tone it back on.
Left in our women's field here, Casey Brown, of course, tied with Via Verbeek, 185 points. They've traded first place the last two events, and now Casey Brown with an opportunity to earn some more points here. Who will be the last competitor to drop? Of course, Via Verbeek. So our two top points contenders right now dropping in last. Now Casey Brown's got to beat a 239.
Yeah, I know they're both gonna want this. Casey talks about how it's gonna be hard for her to hold back, and she's such a competitor that I don't know if she's gonna be able to.
She's such a sender too, you know, especially that she thrives when the pressure's on. And right now, being tied for the lead on a short downhill course, 2 minutes 39 seconds, the time to beat. The pressure is very much on. Let's see if Casey capitalizes. Oh! Aggressive in that berm.
It's so awesome seeing, you know, the succession of riders, because Casey's like taking some extra pedals there. Like,
here we go. It's not
really
going to
just
be
trying to
Casey's
go.
race though. Final straightaway. She's already outside of the top time. She will move into third place, and if she's able to stay there, that will be worth 70 points. But the next racer on course will be Via Verbeek. But anything can happen. How about that? No real huge mistakes to speak of in the women's field, Elliot.
Yeah, it's so true. I mean, like, we definitely can't see some of the rest of the track, but I think you can always tell by a rider's body language when they come down whether they made a big mistake, because it's hard. It's an emotional thing. As soon as you come through the finish line, you're like, ah.
Yeah, no obvious crashes here, but obviously, like you say, anything can happen when they're not on camera. But right now, the pressure is on Via Verbeek right now. Let's see if she can capitalize. She was the queen of Crankworx last season. She said she'd like to have more consistent results across all the different disciplines because she's better at some than others, but she wants to be an all-around strong player. Well, guess what, Via? Luckily for you, the Cliff Crankworx Summer Series was invented. It's pretty much the perfect event format for somebody like Via Verbeek, who's an all-around talent right now, and she has the opportunity to flex her muscles in all 4 disciplines: enduro, downhill, air DH, and dual slalom. But right now, the final rider to take the course for the women's field right now, from nearby Coldstream, BC. This is her home mountain. She wants the win here. This is Via Verbeek.
Yeah, here we go. She came into that a little bit hot. You can see her kind of like go on the edge of the trail, maybe not get as much pump as she would. But sometimes good to have those little mistakes at the top, calm you down, get you into the rest of your run.
Isn't that true? That sometimes happens. You mess up and you go, and then you get mad, and you almost aren't as nervous because you just go, well, bring it on. I'm going to make up for that.
Yeah, let's go. It's funny that she said that she wants to get better all around because she's probably one of the best, if not the best, at everything.
Hey, you know what? That just means she's never content, even though she's the reigning queen. But take a look. She's going to exit the woods here, looking good. 7 seconds left across the finish line. If she wants to take the lead, she will do it. Via Verbeek going back-to-back wins 2 days in a row here, smashing the competition by over 3 seconds and earning another 100 points to her tally.
Wow, that's awesome. That is, man, like, being able to perform back-to-back different disciplines, hardly any practice, it's impressive. It's so impressive, especially going from the slalom to the downhill, where you're switching bikes. Like, it's awesome.
Via Verbeek, way to go. She wanted to kick off the 2020 season by defending her Queen of Crankworx crown. Of course, Crankworx World Tour put on hold, but the Cliff Crankworx Summer Series, the perfect opportunity for her to go, what was it, a second place, a first place, and a first place in the first 3 disciplines, earning herself the top spot in that leaderboard right now. Casey Brown was tied for the lead. She now moves down to 4th place. Miranda Miller in 3rd, ALN in 2nd place right now. The downhill results, and we're going to have to wait until we can crunch the numbers and find out what that means for the overall. Oh, this just in. Via's wearing a headset. Via, way to go out there. It seems like we just had you on headset 2 seconds ago when you took the win in the dual slalom. What took place between then and now?
Oh my God, it's been a blur. Yeah, we just raced at the Edge track, and it's a quick, full-on track. I feel like I was just at the top, but yeah, I can't believe I just won this. This is crazy. It's been a roller coaster start. Like, first race, second race, mess up my arm big time, and now 2 wins. This is insane. Stoked that I can function under these circumstances.
Tell me about the arm. I read a little bit about that, but I don't know much. Explain to me what happened and what you're feeling right now.
Yeah, it's basically in slalom yesterday, early practice session. I just cruised through a couple times and just, rolling through that super technical rhythm. And then I saw the guys doing the like on, off, double, and I was like, that looks sweet. I want to try it. But it's very unforgiving, and I went a little bit too fast and, just doubled in, overshot, and then got ejected big time and landed into a bunch of other rollers, which messed up my back and my arm. I think my chainring landed on my arm because as soon as I got up, I thought I had a broken arm. I had 2 super pointy bits pointing out of my arm. So I laid down for about an hour, and it just swelled up like an egg. And you could see the chainring mark on my sleeve, which made me think, okay, it's not actually a bone, it could just be an egg. So thank God I was able to put a compression sleeve and just ride even with the swelling. And so yeah, it's been a challenge since yesterday.
It's crazy. We see you on course looking so cozy, so comfortable. We see you on the top step of the podium 2 times in a row. Had no idea all the stuff you're dealing with your body after that injury. So way to go, pushing through the pain. We can't wait to see what you can do in air downhill tomorrow, because guess what? The week isn't over. This is crazy. It just never lets up. Good luck out there, Via.
Thank you so much, guys. See ya.
So big congrats there to Via Verbeek, sweeping the field by 3.2 seconds. Of course, that's going to shake things up in the overall standings. We will crunch the numbers over the break and get back to you with what that means. How far down the lineup does that put Casey Brown? Let's get our calculators out. But you, just hang out there, watch these commercials, because we got more racing in the men's field coming up after the break.